first off and foremost, you gotta remove the panel, the stand for the computer to monitor. You're gonna do that either with a screw gun or a Phillips screwdriver. They kind of looks like they kind of strip these ones, so I'm gonna do my best to remove it. Okay, and there's 4 screws total. Behind these screws, or in front of these screws, there's little covers that you see here. You just use a regular screwdriver to pop these off to get to the screws. And as anybody should know, you should make sure you keep all your screws and everything in a safe place so you don't lose them, so you can put everything back together the way it belongs. Removing the stand, setting that to the side. Remove all your wiring, remove your power switches and everything. That way they're not in the way. Okay, now for the front cover, as you can see, I've already taken it partially off, but I'm going to show you something that I didn't realize until it was a little too late. There is a Phillips screw in this little hole here. You should remove that before you even attempt to take the cover off. I personally broke mine, but it doesn't hurt the computer or the monitor itself. Make sure you have a nice flat surface to work on. Nothing underneath the monitor so you don't break anything else. I saw on a video that I looked at before this on how to remove this. What you're going to need is you're going to need a putty knife, and you're going to slowly work it underneath the edge, back and forth, working your front case off. Like I said, make sure you remove that back screw. The front case comes off fairly easy. You just got to make sure you pop off all the little clips and everything, try not to break them. Then you remove, as you remove the back part, there's your sensor bar for all your adjustments and everything on your screen. All that is taped pretty much to a little box back here. Okay, so you remove the front face and you tip it forward and you slowly work that sensor off the back end, and it'll just come right off because it's not very heavily taped on there. So I'll show you the back end of this. This is where the sensor bar is. Each one of these little flaps is like a tape area. So when you're done, you can just slide this back in there on these points. Okay, and it should tape right back into place so you can still use it. The original problem I was having was the power button. The spring back mechanism broke on it. So I couldn't turn my monitor on or off. So I did all this to get to that. Okay, when you get this off and you get that little panel off, what you're going to do is you're going to flip this over like this. Okay, and the panel is going to be actually screwed to the inside like so. Okay, it's going to be screwed to the inside like this. You take 2 little screws, one's right there and one's right there. You take those out, and then you can just pop this off. Okay. Now, what I'm going to try to do today is actually fix the actual spring back mechanism that was used to hold the power button. Here's the power button. Okay. What I did to get this off without breaking it. Okay, this is the actual mechanism. It's just a piece of plastic, 2 arms. It was held in position right here by 3 little pieces of plastic sticking out. Okay. What I did was I took a plain old pocket knife, okay, and what I did was I scraped the face of it to get the glue off all the way around, and then I used that same pocket knife and I worked nice and slowly around it to work it off those arms without breaking them too much. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attempt to fix that mechanism, that piece of plastic that held that into position so it would spring back every single time. What I'm going to do that is simple, handy dandy super glue. What I'm going to do is, like you would do with anything with super glue, I'm just going to put a dab here and a dab here, and I'm going to just hold into place on these two parts where it broke off. And I'm going to do my best to try to super glue that back together, and then after it dries I'm going to reinforce it a little bit more with more super glue. After that dries, I'll show you how to get back in place. Okay, back. Here's the piece that I was showing you. As I said, I super glued it on each of those tabs. I let it dry for like 10 minutes, then re-super glued it just to reinforce it. Let that dry for about another 10 minutes. Okay? Then I scraped the other side of this with a knife, with this knife, to rough up the plastic without breaking those plastic tips. Okay? Put a layer of super glue on the back of the panel and on the back of the actual spring mechanism. Okay? Blew on those for a little bit, letting the super glue dry to get it tacky. Made sure when I put it back on to make sure each one of those little posts went into those 3 holes. Okay? Held it in place just using like a regular screwdriver so you don't get the super glue on your fingers. Pushing down, making sure that it was securely connected to those 3 tabs, holding it into place for about 2-3 minutes, and then letting that dry for about another 10. Heat source would be nice. It dries the super glue faster. A hot bulb or a hair dryer held at about 3 inches to 4 inches away, blowing on it will dry it faster. You don't want to get it too hot because it'll actually start breaking apart the super glue. Alright, here's the power relay switch. Okay, you'll see this little knob right here, the little gold button. Okay, that actually lines up with this little tiny knob on the very end of the power switch, if you can see that in the light. Okay, what you're going to do now is you're going to flip this over. Okay, make sure you got plenty of the wire out so you can get it connected. Okay, this flips right over, and you're going to lay it on top of both of those screw connectors. It's not the easiest thing to do. You're going to line it up. You should have a little hole right here to line it on that. There's a little knob right there to push it onto so it holds itself in place. Also, same thing with the other one. You see them coming through the little holes. Okay, hold that in place. Very little screws to put this in. When you got big hands, it's hard to do. Yourself a tiny little screwdriver, Phillips head or hex head. I did not put that in the right place. What's really helpful if it's magnetic, a magnetic screwdriver, especially when you're working with small stuff like this. Now you want to snug it down, but you don't want to over torque it because you'll break that plastic. Okay. Now you're going to flip it over and get back to that sensor bar. This isn't going to be easy to do because there's not much room to work with back here. And you're just going to do the best you can to line it up underneath there. Sorry I can't show you what I'm doing, but there's not, because there's not enough room. There, I'm going to have to actually tilt the screen up a little bit.
How many banker tunes do you have?
This is pretty hard to do. They don't give you much wiring for this sensor bar at all. I mean, you barely got enough to work with, if any. Sometimes you got to be a little bit forceful, gentle, but and then you might want to grab your screwdriver, a very small one, put it on the back of the plastic, a little bit of force to it, and then squeeze it to the screen. Working it into that tape. Try not to push too hard because you don't want to mess with any of the electronics. Okay, I believe I got that in place. Now, just ever so gently start snapping in the front case. Okay, there's the bottom. I'm not going to snap any more than that for right now because I want to make sure before I put it completely together that it's going to work. So all I'm going to do is plug everything back in. Okay, here's the moment of truth. Let's find out if my idea works. There you go. And you should be good for quite a while as long as you super glued it and reinforced it really good. That's all I got to show you. Hope everybody learned something. Hope you can fix your screens. And see you next time.